All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the third day of May 2024. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Couple of housekeeping items before we get to our Flyers player exit day interview with Ryan Poehling. Real quick, I know a lot of people, I've gotten a few messages lately that some of the apps that you normally would consume this podcast, it hasn't been showing up. We are trying to suss out those distribution issues. We moved to a different platform, not to get too in the weeds, but we're resetting those, and they will all be populated. But in the meantime, if it's not there yet, keep watching on Flyers' YouTube channel or on the channels like Apple and Spotify, where I know it is and will be reliably posted when we post them. So just wanted to get that out there and let people know that we are working on that. Also, so just sitting here hanging out on a Thursday night watching this Leaf Brewing game midway through the second period. Scoreless game, and the Maple Leafs are out shooting the Bruins 15-1. That is a very tough position to put a goaltender in, only seeing one shot. The next shot could end up in the net, and you're trailing the game after that. We'll see how this one plays out. Tremendous theater in Boston as the Bruins look to knock out the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're also going to have another one of our great winners in the Flyers Hometown Assists brought to you by Wells Fargo. We're going to have a great barber shop from up in New Hope, True Believers Barber Shop. These guys are great. So you'll hear from them in this episode as well. We're going to get to an email in between Ryan Poehling and the guys at True Believers Barber Shop. But our exit day interview today features Ryan Poehling. Now, we didn't know a ton about Ryan Poehling last year when he signed the one-year contract with the Flyers. Comes in and turned 25 back in January, so came in as a 24-year-old. He's a former first-round pick, 25th overall of the Montreal Canadiens. Bounced around a little bit around the NHL. Played 3 years in Montreal, played a season in Pittsburgh, and then last year with the Flyers. It seemed like he never truly found his hockey home until he got here. Really flourished this year, had a good year. Now, you may go, well, Ryan Poehling, he only had 28 points. Don't get carried away. Well, Ryan Poehling is not a guy that you rely on for scoring. Flyers need more scoring. They need to find some guys that they have to rely on for scoring. But I think really surprised a lot of people and maybe surprised the Flyers organization. He came in and he bet on himself. In 77 games, 11 goals, 17 assists, 28 points. Was key in some faceoffs, a big centerman that can skate, kill penalties, and do a lot of the dirty work for a team. So he was a good guy to get to know this year. He's got a calm, really cool demeanor, just very chill. And I think that's a good thing, too, to have on this hockey club where you have varying ages. You have really young guys, 22 and under. You have that 24 to 28 range, and you have some guys north of 28 as well. And Poehling at 25 years old fits right into the middle of that. So I had a chance to catch up with him on Flyers Exit Day, and here's that conversation. It is Flyers Daily and Flyers Exit Day. We're with a guy that is coming back next year. He's got a contract extension. It's Ryan Poehling. Pales, how are you?
I'm doing well, my man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hard to just turn it off, I imagine, when sometimes if you're playing out the string, you kind of can decompress your way towards the end of a season. Not when Game 82 means what that one meant. What does it feel like now?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I've fully realized it, if that makes sense. Like you said, playing 82 games that matter is obviously a bonus for us. I mean, obviously it was a rebuilding year, and a lot of teams counted us out. So, I mean, I'm proud of the way guys competed and whatnot, and what we did this year I think is obviously not where we want to be, but I think it's a right building block in the right direction for us.
Talk about the confidence of your game, because you're just such a good skater. Big guys that can skate, that play in the middle. There's just always, I have time for that all day.
Yeah.
Right? But your confidence this year just, to me, Pales, just seemed to keep having block upon block built on it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you said it perfectly. For myself, I was proud of myself and how I played, and starting from the season compared to now, I feel like a different hockey player. It's just I've always believed in myself, and I've just always wanted an opportunity to show that. And I think this year, I got to give credit to Danny B and Jonesy for bringing me in, and then obviously Torts giving me the chance just on the ice. Starting off the year, I was playing not a lot, getting scratched here and there, but just continued to work and just show my worth. So no, I think it was a big growing year for myself and the team as an individual. but I think it's only the beginning. You know, that's the best part of it, is I know I still have more, and it just showed to me that I can be the player I want to be.
Was one of the things when you looked at the Flyers as a consideration on a prove it 1-year deal, the opportunity that you could have here?
100%, yeah. When I obviously became a free agent there for a bit, I mean, it happened so quick, and I just had to follow my gut. And, you know, I mean, my agent was telling me a lot of different things. He said at the end of the day, make the decision yourself. And I think the biggest thing was coming to Philadelphia was the biggest gamble for myself, risk reward wise. And I mean, my gut just told me to come here, and I think
just said,
big reward.
You know what?
Yeah,
I could crash and burn.
Yeah.
And be in the American League, or I could end up in an extension.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're sitting on the other side of that with the extension. Like, what is that like to have that come to full fruition? Like, what does that feel like?
No, it feels great. I think, honestly, like I said earlier, I've always believed in myself, and I think that, I mean, I play hockey to have fun and compete, and I think that's the biggest thing. You got to remember that. So, and I'm a big man of faith, and I think trusting God's process has helped me a lot. So just knowing that I came here and gave everything I had, knowing that the chips fall as they would, and I mean, God's plan was for me to obviously stay here, so it's been good.
And if you came and you did what you can control, given it everything you had, that other stuff was going to fall into place.
100%, yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. And if that was playing the American League and be done, then so be it. But it wasn't. God had other plans for me. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Talk about the bond you've created with a lot of your teammates, because we've heard about it all year, Pales. This group stuck together when the S hit the fan. You guys stuck together. You came back. You didn't limp all the way to the finish line. You battled. You made that game 82 mean a whole heck of a lot, even though it didn't work out, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But nobody gave up on each other.
Yeah, and that's important. I think that just shows a lot about the team's character, you know. And I mean, character comes down to individuals, but in a team sport, it's about the team character too. So, I mean, we have a lot to be proud about, but I mean, speaking from a team standpoint off the ice, it's great. I mean, I've played on a lot of hockey teams, and I mean, this one's so tight. I mean, we got a young group, and we have a lot of fun, and we enjoy competing with each other and for one another. So, I mean, I'm just glad that, I mean, this is my first time coming back in 3 years where I get to have a familiarity with the same amount of guys, and I couldn't be happier to be with these guys for the next years.
Finding your place where you're supposed to be, you mentioned it as a man of faith, finding your place and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to give and your role in it, I think is really important. What is that going to do to your off season? Having that feeling of, you know, kind of settled.
Yeah.
And being where you're supposed to be. Like, you were in Montreal, you're in Pittsburgh, you're not sure where you fit in that. You have this extension, you have a commitment. Mm-hmm. What does that feel like, and how does that manifest itself in your off season?
I think it makes it exciting, you know. I mean, obviously I'm excited to get some off time just to get away from it all, you know.
And there's a whole bunch of things you don't have to worry about.
Exactly, for sure. So
Removing things.
Yeah, exactly. So I get to actually go home and know what's in store for me for the next year. So just knowing that and having peace of mind in that, I think is going to help me a lot. So just enjoying off time, and then also just getting back to work, I think will make that even easier too, you know, like knowing where you're coming to, knowing the situation you're in, the guys you're going to be around. I think all that makes it easier for me to focus on slowly just what actually matters, which is becoming a better hockey player and helping this team out.
Last thing for you, betting on yourself. It takes, like you mentioned before, there's risk involved. But there's people that listen to this podcast, and this goes beyond sport. This goes beyond betting on yourself in other areas, in business and life, and whatever it is you do. The reward when you bet on yourself and it works out is ultimate, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah, and that, I mean, it can go both ways too. I think that it's not always going to work out in your favor, and that's
you got to pick yourself up.
100%, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think that matters more. I mean, even signing Montreal as a 19-year-old kid, and I thought the world of myself, and I thought, oh, this and that. And I mean, as a young kid getting sent down to the AHL at 19 years old, where I've never been cut before that, I was thinking to myself, oh, well, screw this, screw that. But at the end of the day,
not my fault, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're so young and you're not used to that. But I think it taught me a lot about digging yourself out. And I mean, you got to worry about yourself and what you can control. And I think that's kind of a learning process that I've succumbed to, and it's helped me out a ton. So I mean, even in the losses, there's wins to be had, and I think that I've learned that throughout my time, and I think that's an important lesson for everyone.
A lot of twists and turns to this thing they call life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like hockey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be ready to lean into bank on some of those turns.
100%.
Pels, enjoy the summer, man. It was great getting to know you this year. Can't wait to next steps next year. Thanks for doing this, and really enjoy the summer.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
A couple of subjects of that conversation obviously surrounded around the contract that Ryan Poehling signed through in the midst of this season. Found his hockey home, and the Flyers signed him to a 2-year contract extension. And Ryan Poehling, for the next 2 years, will have an AAV of $1.9 million. Got a little bit of security. It's not an exorbitant contract, and he's a guy you can move around a little bit, play the center position, kill penalties, valuable player, and a really nice deal for the Flyers and a good deal for Ryan Poehling as well. Thanks to him for joining. Let's get to an email before we get to the guys at True Believers Barber Shop. Not an email, it's actually a DM. And this came in from our good friend Flyers Ginger Ambassador. He said, so I had a thought, and you have the information, time, and curiosity to pursue this. This is one of the two. This season was one of the two. He said, A, this is historically how John Tortorella builds his teams, or B, this is his approach to building this team. Then he said, okay, C, I have no idea what I'm talking about, so I believe year one was setting the locker room and building the team defense, getting that locker room culture right. Year two is more of that, plus building off the rush. And year three, which we're going to go into next year, as he already stated, will be about offensive zone time and power play, which when you combine all three makes a solid team if everyone's bought in and then you find the high-end pieces to fill it out. He said, so my question is to you. Can you prove that he has done this before in his previous jobs, or is it just how he's handling this group given the talent that he has? Well, it's hard to prove anything until it happens because there's so many things that can affect it. Obviously, injuries are a big thing. Key injuries can affect the arc of a team, the arc of a rebuild, development of players that haven't even gotten to the NHL yet. You know, a big part of next year's story and wins and losses is going to reside in the crease with Sam Ersson and Ivan Fedotov. You got to play two goalies in the NHL, and if Ersson has a good year and bounces back from the struggle period that he had, I like the way that he finished this season, and becomes a good number one goaltender, you still got to give the backup 25 games. What is Ivan Fedotov at the NHL level? And we know how consequential goaltending is. But as far as what Torts has done in the past, you can't compare them. They're not apples to apples comparisons. Because anytime a coach takes over a team, it's very likely that that team's not very good. Therefore, they had a coaching change. Now, sometimes you have a coaching change of a team that is a playoff team. They can't get to the next level. Like the Devils last year were a playoff team. They won a round over the New York Rangers in 7 games. And then this year came into the season, gave Lindy Ruff an extension, then they fired him this year. So sometimes you can take over a team that underachieved but has good parts, good bones, and good pieces. But for the most part, coaches take over when teams are in disarray, devoid of talent, and need a shakeup, and need a rebuild, or need a new voice. And that's what Torts has done pretty much everywhere. So he went into Tampa. When he gets the Tampa job, he was with their AHL team, and he gets the Tampa job and coaches 43 games, comes in midway through the season in 2000-2001. Team goes 12-27-1. They had a .326 points percentage. Not good. Then the next year, he comes out, and in 82 games, they go 27-40-11. And they end up with a .421 points percentage, so still below 500. There's a lot to be building on. And you have young players there, and a battle of wills with guys like Vinny LeCavalier, Martin St. Louis. They had to bring these guys along, get the system and the structure and all those things in place. And then in 2002-2003, the breakthrough. Really year 3 of his tenure. 36-25-16, 5 overtime losses, a .567 points percentage, and they finished first in their division. They went around to the playoffs. The next year, 03-04, they build on it. They're a wagon. Finished first in the division again, 106 points, and they win the Stanley Cup in 2003-2004. The next year, a .561 points percentage, they're second in the division. Next year, .567 points percentage, second in the division. And then the following year, the drop-off happens, .433 points percentage, fifth, and John Tortorella is out of Tampa Bay. There's an arc for every coach, and that arc, coaches are hired to be fired. Once things start to go south on a coach that has been there for a while and tenure, teams tend to move on. They say, okay, we need a new voice. And look, the reason why they do that in hockey is because a lot of times it works. Now, the average tenure for a lot of coaches is not 6 years like it was for John Tortorella in Tampa, 7 years, 6 and change, if you will. 535 games he coached. But it's about 2.5 years now. So he leaves Tampa. Okay? You go to his next job. Leaves Tampa after 07-08 and 08-09. He picks up with the New York Rangers, takes over that job, and coaches 21 games. Team goes 12-7-2, but it's a partial season. They do make the playoffs. They win a round. So go into his first full year, all 82 games in 2009-10. We know they didn't make the playoffs. Flyers beat them in the shootout to get into the playoffs in game 82. So, but they did have a 530 points percentage. Next year, 2010-11, 567. They finish third. They make the playoffs. They go out in 5. The next year, 11-12, a 665 points percentage, first in the division. They make it to a conference final. Then the next year, he has a 583 points percentage. They finish second. And then John Tortorella leaves the New York Rangers. He goes to Vancouver for a season, 13-14. I talked to him about this, not on the Hockey and Hounds podcast, but just in conversation, that he rushed into that job. He needed a break, and he said he should have taken that break. It was actually a conversation we were having about Todd McClellan when he got let go with the Los Angeles Kings. He said he told him, Mac, don't just take a job and jump in. Give yourself time. And that's how the part came up. He goes, I jumped in too fast with Vancouver. I was burnt. I needed a break. Didn't take it. He's in Vancouver for a year. He finishes 5th in the division. He leaves that job. Then he takes the break, a year off. Then Torts returns in 2015-16 and takes over a Columbus Blue Jackets team. They finish dead last in his first year, 8th, a .507 points percentage. The next year, 16-17, 659 points percentage. The build is on. Year 2, they go 50-24 and 108 points for the Columbus Blue Jackets. They get to the playoffs. They get bounced in 5. Then the next year, 2017-18, a 591 points percentage. He finishes 3rd. They go to the playoffs. They get knocked out in the first round in 6 games. And then it's 18-19. The team, once again, 598 points percentage, 5th. They go to the playoffs. They win a round. They play 10 games. And then 19-20, the year after that, they lose Panarin. They lose Bobrovsky. The year after that, John Tortorella's team goes a 429 points percentage. They finish 7th. They don't make the playoffs. And Torts takes himself out of the job. So they needed a change in voice. He resigns. Okay. So that's after 2021. Then 22-23 takes another year off, does some TV, takes over the Flyers, 457 points percentage in year 1. This past year, 530 points percentage. You know, building a team and doing it the way Torts builds his teams is a staged process. It is, okay, in year 1, first of all, you have to make sure that locker room's right. That's what Torts did here. Got the locker room right. There was some addition by subtraction, some personalities, and get the pieces to fit to play how he wanted them to play. What we didn't know is going into year 2, how he wanted them to play. I didn't know it. I don't think anybody knew it. I think everybody was equally shocked watching the Flyers go up and down the ice and score goals off the rush like crazy this year. I think it was in January, so you're talking past the midway point. The Flyers were 3rd in off-the-rush goals in the NHL. They were 4th in off-the-rush attempts. I couldn't believe it, how much they were attacking off the rush. So, okay, that's year 2. You add that element into it. And Torts this year, it was after a practice day, talked about the off-the-rush stuff. And he goes, that's the way you got to play in today's NHL. You got to be able to generate offense in varying ways. You got to do it off the forecheck, by forechecking a team, being hard on the pucks, creating second-chance opportunities in the offensive zone. You got to get opportunities off the rush. Now, the next element of that is to have guys that can develop offense all by themselves, and that's high-end talent. So that's the next part of the equation. Obviously, the power play needs to get better, but I do think that this is, even though it's not apples to apples the way he's done it in the past, it's very similar. And you see a lot of similarities, whether it's Vinny LeCavalier and getting him to play the right way as an NHL player to become a winner and a Stanley Cup champion, or whether it was other guys along the way that he had to do that with as well. There were guys that he was tough on in New York as a member, as the coach of the New York Rangers. Same thing in Columbus. He's developed young players as well. Look at all those stops. Started with LeCavalier. I mean, he was a top pick, but Martin St. Louis. Then all the way through into Columbus with Zach Werenski. The job he did there with Werenski and Seth Jones at one point. And then some of the young players that have developed for the Flyers. Now, development's not a straight line. And there's going to be ups and downs to it. And there's going to be hard conversations and tough love and minutes taken away and minutes earned, all that stuff. That's the way Torts goes about it. He's changed, and they're not an apples-to-apples comparison, but this is, you build a foundation, and then you build on the foundation. I said when the Flyers didn't get Johnny Gaudreau, or, they were rumored to be in conversations about getting Johnny Gaudreau, I said it wasn't the time, because it wasn't time to put a travertine heated floor in your bathroom when your plumbing was broken. You have to fix all the structural parts first. Then you can eventually add travertine heated tile in your bathroom, or a soaker tub, or other elements. That wasn't the time. But so Torts has kind of done this before. Great DM from Flyers Ginger Ambassador. Thank you for sending that, as always. And let's get to another one of our award winners in the Flyers Hometown Assist, brought to you by Wells Fargo. These guys are up in New Hope, Pennsylvania. What a cluster of guys. And their barbershop, it's one of the things that sucks about being bald, is I used to love going to get my hair cut. But these guys trim beards, too, so I'm going to have to get up there and get this thing tightened up a little bit. But it seems like, in talking to them, and you'll hear them here, that going to their barbershop is not just going to get a haircut or a beard trim or whatever. It's a whole experience. Really cool place. So here's my conversation with the Flyers Hometown Assist winners, the guys at True Believers Barber Shop. It is another episode of Flyers Daily here in the month of May, and we are checking out on small businesses that have been awarded the Flyers Hometown Assist, which is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Winners were selected, and they're going to receive $100,000 in marketing assets to promote their small business as their prize. And I'm really pumped up to talk to these guys. I hope for the people that listen to this podcast, you'll go to the YouTube channel so you can see this collection of guys, because these are the guys from True Believers Barber Shop. You can visit them at truebelieversbarbershop.com. And even though I don't have hair, it doesn't mean I can't go, because they have services for me as well to groom this unruly beard. So we welcome in right now James Shields, the owner, Mickey, who's one of the barbers, Nick, and Credence. What's going on, boys?
Hey, what's up, man? Good
How awesome are the conversations inside the barbershop? Like, I haven't had hair in a long time, and one of the things I miss is going to get my hair cut, because it's relaxing, it's good conversation. What are the conversations like in the shop?
We don't kiss and tell.
Yeah. What happens in the shop stays in the shop?
Exactly. Stays in the shop, yep.
But that's a good indication that they're good conversations. If you can't tell us about some of the specifics, then they're pretty good conversations, right?
Everyone that comes here is wild and insane. They're all lunatics. And if they're listening now, I mean whoever thinks that it might be about them.
It's probably about them.
Yeah. We like them.
There is kind of like a whole cool culture about the barbershop. When did you guys open doors?
We opened back November 1st of 2020. Initially tried to open up in March, signed a lease, and then a month later the pandemic took off. So that was an experience. But we prevailed. We defiant, resilient, stuck to our guns with it, and made it happen. Just figured if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be. But I just took a shot, wanted to open up shop, worked with my best friends of over 15 years. It's an honor to do that, and it's an honor to have people in here with us. The town's been awesome. New Hope's been great to us from our inception up until this point, and then some, I'm sure, beyond this. So, yeah, we're lucky to be where we are, and we're lucky to have each other.
That's awesome, because one of the things about the pandemic is everybody's hair got really unruly. But when all everything was lifted, I'm sure you guys had a line out the door of new customers. That must have been pretty cool, and probably a lot more sweeping of hair than on a normal occasion.
Actually, 90% of my book followed me when I opened up. I was the first one here, and I figured I'll get it off the ground and eventually bring my boys in. But yeah, 90%, man, that's crazy. The number is far less for people that do that in our industry. Typically, I was not expecting that, and to have that right out the gate kind of flooded the gates already. I knew what to expect with that once I knew 90% was following me. So.
You guys are located in one of the really cool nooks of the Delaware Valley in New Hope. Just such a cool place to check out. So even if you're not in that area and you want to go up for a day, visit a really cool town, visit New Hope, and check out the guys at True Believers Barber Shop. Historic, you guys got, I mean, the chairs are ancient. Some of them in the 1800s. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got 2 hard oak chairs from the 1890s. We've got one from the 40s and then one from the 60s that are porcelain, the 2 of those. The hard oaks are gorgeous. All these barber chairs are really wicked cool. But I also have 5 more that we have in storage. Another hard oak chair that needs a complete refurbishment, and then a handful of other porcelain chairs. But we did our due diligence. We did our research. We hunted down all these chairs. My wife Ashley. Hi, shout out, love you, babe. We actually went and hunted down across state lines, went to Lake Virginia. We got a chair from Maine, which I didn't physically get myself. But the rest of them, we went to Delaware. And, we got a box truck. Once the stay-at-home order got lifted, we just hunted all the chairs down, picked them up. And that was an experience. But if you want to see them, I can show them to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's very – they're big and heavy suckers, too. I mean, they're very – oh, look at this. Look at the barber shop. That's a shop right there. Look at that. It's old school. That thing tilts back for a nice straight razor shave too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's my Franken chair. And head shaves, yes.
And head shaves. Oh, really? What are you shaving heads with?
A straight razor, of course.
Cool. I've never had that. Oh, like a baby's butt after you get one of those.
Yeah, smooth as bottom.
Oh, my God.
From one of our clients, actually, was coming here for 2 years. He was selling a chair. We found out from a friend. Shout out Steve Fidone. And, he said, like, oh, there's a chair for sale online. And I looked it up, and I hit the guy up. He says, oh, hey, James. I didn't know you were selling a chair. So
beautiful.
Then we got this guy. It's even got a really neat stool attachment right there. That hooks
very cool.
So you can sit as a barber and kind of swing around the chair.
Yeah. Very cool. And the shop looks like a cool place just to hang. Looks like a cool place to be. A lot of stuff on the walls. Big logo there, True Believer. What's that?
That's our shop wolf.
Okay.
Danzig.
So you got a taxidermy wolf up there, huh?
It's resin, but
Okay. Did I just see a Flyers banner over there too?
Oh yeah, of course.
To your left, there you go. Okay. All right. So you guys are in the Flyers Hometown Assist. How'd you hear about the program?
So I actually was following it from last year's Hometown Assist program, and I thought, I just missed it. I thought, dang, that sucks. But I hung on to like that feeling. I was kind of like, all right, this year when it comes back out, I'll give it a shot. I'll apply. And I apply. I don't tell my wife. I don't tell my friends. I don't tell any of these guys. I don't tell anybody in the shop, no clients. And then I get an email one day, months later. It says, hey, we just so happen to think your shop's pretty cool. You're a grand prize winner, one of the 5. And super, super cool feeling. Honestly, I broke down a little bit, got a little choked up.
That's great.
And my wife the phone and just let her read it herself while I'm like kind of like, going through it. So that was one of the coolest feelings. I love the Flyers so much. These guys, we all love going to games together, and it means a lot to us coming from you guys, the organization, Wells Fargo Center, everybody that was supporting us and chose us. It's just a feeling I'll never forget. Really cool.
That's fantastic. Like to be affiliated with, a major sports team, one of the big 4, NFL, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball. And to be able to do that for your business is fantastic. You guys, you go old school. You got the classic haircuts, of course, traditional straight razor shaves, precise beard trims. That's what I need. I'm a little unruly underneath. I got to get a little toned up in there, a little tightened up. Quality grooming products, complimentary spirits, and craft beer on tap. So you can go to get the hair, the beard, or whatever done, and have a cocktail while you do it.
Yeah, we actually have Warwick Farm Brewing exclusively on tap. Those guys are awesome. They come in here all the time. Shoot the breeze with us, kick the shit, and we hang out with them. They are so supportive of us, and they know they're a small business. They've been a booming success as of late, and they're just only getting bigger and bigger. So they come, they bring Sixtals here. We put it in our kegerator, and every time you come in, you get a nice ice cold beer or beverage, of course. We have tons of spirits, bourbon, scotch, whiskey, you name it, rum. We got it. And it's 100% all complimentary, figuring that, it's one of our ways we can give back to our people for choosing us and being loyal to us.
And we don't ID anyone.
Yeah, not one person. No, we ID everybody.
21 and up without ID.
Yes, yeah, naturally.
This doesn't sound like if I go to your shop, I'm going for a haircut or a beard trim. It sounds like more like an experience.
Experience for sure.
And you guys seem like cool guys to hang out with and shoot, what with and all that. 19 West Bridge Street in New Hope is where they're located, True Believers Barber Shop. Everybody can get all the info on the website, truebelieversbarbershop.com.
Absolutely. Yep. There's a parking lot not too far from here you can park at. Of course, it's paid parking. You come up, you park up, you walk in, hang out with us for a little bit. People get here earlier, have a libation, hang out with the boys. Coming in here, it's just like one big family, So, yeah, you have a good time.
It's good walking around town, right by the river, right there, Jersey.
Yeah, beautiful.
Plenty of shops, good places to eat, good people. The whole area is great.
Yeah.
Well, my wife's been saying, let's make a trip up to New Hope. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to pop in and see you guys. Awesome stuff, guys. Congratulations on the Flyers hometown assist. When you come down to a game next year, we'll have to hook up. We'll get you downstairs, give you the tour, show you the whole behind-the-scenes thing, get you on the bench, before they get out there and kind of see what the underbelly looks like a little bit, too. Thanks for doing this, and best of luck. It's James, Mickey, Nick, and Credence. Guys, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Shout out to Bouncing Souls, True Believers. Woo.
Thank you.
Thanks to the boys from True Believers Barber Shop. We'll have another one featured in Monday's episode, along with Mondays with Meltzer, as the off-season continues. We'll hear from Sean Couturier and his Flyers exit day interview next week as well. So tune in Monday, and have a great weekend. We'll talk to you then on a brand new Flyers Daily.